So let's go back to Azure and talk about analytics in Azure. As we discussed previously, Microsoft offers different analytics power. First of all, they have alliance with Databricks, and the second, they have their own Synapse Analytics and Microsoft Fabric. We're going to talk about these three in the next few slides. So first of all, Databricks. What is Databricks? Databricks is an American enterprise who is founded by the creators of Apache Spark. We already mentioned Spark in our previous session discussing big data. So what is Spark? Spark is an in-memory distributed processing built on top of Apache Hadoop. It's widely used for ETL and data analysis. It offers a fast data processing because it's memory-based. It also provides huge compute power because it's distributed and you can easily scale it up. It can do data processing jobs requiring computer power, such as graph processing, machine learning, and joining. So the concept, as we discussed Hadoop before, we talked about data lake before. Data lake can be formed by utilizing Hadoop file structure. Then Spark is also created on top of Hadoop. So it's natural that Spark can read and process data lake files, Hadoop data lake files. So the question is naturally is why not build a data lake processing layer on top of the data lake files? That's exactly what Spark does. Spark offers a product called Delta Lake. So this Spark itself is a web-based platform based on Spark. Databricks itself is a web-based platform based on Spark. It has this product called Delta Lake, which is a file-based data lake storage. So now you have the administrative node of Spark, and you have the storage. You also need a compute. Compute is basically cloud-based compute cluster for Spark job execution. And finally, you have some kind of automated cluster management. So this is the this is the architecture of Databricks. On top of this chart is the control plane, which is basically the administrative nodes, which take care of the web application for user interface, the custom notebooks for job execution, job and query management, and cluster management. So these are run by are managed by Databricks, running in the network, and then below that, that's a data plane. Data plane has two parts. The first part is a compute. That's the Spark cluster. And then there's a data storage, which is the Databricks file system, which usually is built on top of the cloud storage, cloud file storage, such as your blob storage. So as you can see, this is a cloud. This is a customer cloud account that you will host the compute and storage in your own customer cloud. Now, advantage of Databricks, of course, because it stores data as files, so it's cheaper than Snowflake, and it's simpler. The concept is simpler. It's one data lake and one set of clusters. You can have multiple clusters, but they are managed the same way. The disadvantages of Databricks is that it's not a complete ecosystem. There are much more processing needed, and Databricks you can build these processings in Databricks, no problem. But people always would like to have something that's out of box and readily available. So this is where you have the Azure Synapse Analytics. What Synapse Analytics does is it consolidates several existing products under one flag, which is under one bucket, which is Synapse Analytics. As you can see, the gray area in this picture is the Synapse Analytics. It contains several parts. First of all, data pipelines. This is what we used to call Azure Data Factory. Then there's the data lake storage, right? It's easy to understand. We already discussed the Azure Data Lake implementation earlier. Then we have the compute systems, including the Data Explorer, the Spark pool. You can also build Spark here, and you can have the serverless SQL pool and the dedicated SQL pool. So this is the Synapse. Microsoft is trying to get everything that is data processing related, data engineering related, into one umbrella, under one umbrella, and they call it Synapse Analytics. And they try to provide you with a interface to access all these services from one umbrella, from one interface. The problem with this approach, of course, it's powerful, and you are basically integrating matured product like Azure Data Factory or Data Lake or Spark Pools. You're basically integrating matured product together. The problem with this approach, however, is because they are all mature products. It requires much more complexity. It contains multiple more complexity to integrate them to let your job run on all these things. So it requires careful design and the careful planning and the careful implementation. So what Microsoft is trying to do, of course, if you have such a complex system with so many different components, fundamentally different, right? Then what you try to do is try to build a system that is based on one single fundamental principle, and everything evolve from that principle. That is the Microsoft Fabric. Microsoft Fabric is built on top of the what they call a One Lake, which is actually exactly the same as the Databricks Delta Lake. But Microsoft have more control over this Delta Lake, One Lake. In Databricks, you can have multiple Delta Lakes. But in Microsoft Fabric, each tenant can have only one lake, and Microsoft is taking off most of management. Then the Fabric One Lake, on top of the One Lake, there are a series of tools with the data engineering and data science capabilities like Notebook, like Spark Notebook and SQL. Then there's Power BI visualization. So this is what Microsoft Fabric have here. It has Power BI, which is the visualization tool, Data Factory, which is the data loading tool, Data Activator is the monitoring, data monitoring and the action event bridge, event handler. Then we have real-time intelligence, Synapse Data Engineering, Synapse Data Science, and Synapse Data Warehouse. So one thing to note, you see here you still have Synapse Data Engineering, Synapse Data Science, and Synapse Data Warehouse. However, these are actually still they may not be exactly by Synapse. The reason is Fabric is new. It was officially released in November 2023. And even by that time, people said it's a rushed release. Microsoft released this product prematurely in order to gain market share. So a lot of the functionalities that it is supposed to have, it does not have. That's why it has to borrow things from Synapse. So the idea, of course, is to have a one consolidated ecosystem. But now you can see it still has to get the Synapse Synapse tools in. This is the issue with the Fabric. And one issue is Fabric keep on changing and changing fast. As Microsoft release this product and try to push this product to more customers, they are seeing custom requests and they are making change. So whatever I'm teaching today could be very different when you start using that. That's something you need to be mindful. And we will talk about how to cope with this later on in our last session. But what we can do is just teach you what the fabric looks like as for now. We will have labs and showing you how it looks like. Okay, so next is the fabric demonstration. We are going to open up a fabric interface, upload files, connect to fabric, and create lakehouse, update the upload files. As you can see, these are all about file processing, file loading, right? Because this fabric is built on top of a file-based data lake.